Hello, my crafty friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's treasure journal flip through video. I call this one the Masquerade Ball, and I think the reason for the name is quite obvious. The entire journal was born from the inspiration of this gorgeous mask ornament right here. So the color scheme for the front cover is in shades of the greens, golds, kind of pinkish reds, and yeah, it's just something else. You can tell from the side pages that inside I made it super abundantly colorful and full of texture, but I just love how the cover of this one turned out. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right to it. The mask is detachable. I've attached it to the fabric belly band that wraps around the cover, just using a little miniature binder clip. So you can actually, for example, hang this on a Christmas tree if you're into Venetian masks as ornaments, or hang it on a wall, or of course, if you're keeping the journal as a display piece, you can just constantly keep it clipped to the journal cover. It's a piece that I found thrifting, and when I peeled the price tag off, I'm so message to shopkeepers out there. If there's a beautiful foiled gold label that says original hand painted made in Venice, put the price tag literally anywhere else but there. And so anyway, when I peeled off the price tag, it ripped off some of that, but it was a pleasant surprise because I actually bought it not even knowing that it's a one-of-a-kind hand-painted little ornament. That said, they're not super duper valuable. I've Googled them. They go for around $30 to $40 Canadian. But even still, it's pretty cool to have something handcrafted by an artisan in Venice, which is like the birthplace of these really flamboyant, pretty, beautiful, sparkly jester masks. So yeah, don't mind my clear quartz heart crystal. I'm just using that to prop up the book as I get into it. So yeah, there's the inspiration behind the whole thing. I found this piece like maybe a year ago, and I've been planning the journal ever since, and it just feels good to finally have it done. This beautiful little mask is actually a brooch, and you can take that off and wear it. The back cover has just a really lovely purple, green, brown sequined applique on red velvet. This applique is actually off a vintage garment from India called a dupatta. A dupatta kind of looks like a miniature sari, and it's what's wrapped around the shoulders or the salwar in place of a sari. So I just fussy cut that out of the net mesh that it was in, and I think it looks just stunning. So yeah, before I open the journal, as I tend to do, I made a little mini book to go inside the book. So when you pull this out from under the belly band, you get kind of a second cover look option. So you can display the three pieces separately if you prefer them this way. And you can see this gorgeous mirrored, like heavy embroidered gold sari trim. It's just so pretty. I can't say enough good things about how I feel about this particular journal. So yeah, this is also fabric from a vintage piece of clothing from India. My goodness, I'm so sorry. If you're distracted by the fact that I'm pulling cat furs off of everything as I go, I apologize. I do rub everything down with a piece of tape before I film, but there's always one or two that I miss. Anyway, I left the back plain, but on the front I fussy cut a few extra of the floral pieces and just kind of arranged them so that they make kind of constellation-like clusters. I love those little pink flowers. And like, as you can see, they're so perfect in matching the color of this Venetian mask. So inside this little booklet, I printed out a really fun page from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They have an image library with public domain images. Public domain meaning there's no copyright, they don't belong to anybody because of how old they are. And this is from, I think it's the 17th century, so the 1600s. And what we see in Spanish from Valencia are suggested, from what I understand from the translation, and correct me if I'm wrong if you speak medieval Spanish, but they're verses that you could say to people to start conversations when you attend a masquerade ball. It's just so cool. The border details, like everything in it is so pretty. So a must-have if you are attending a royal masquerade ball at court in Europe a couple hundred years ago. Just kind of decorated it. The backing is this beautiful celestial scrapbook paper, again in colors to match our mask. This gorgeous paper is called Khadi, spelled Khadi, and it has like a velvet applique over the hand-stamped kind of lithograph design. It's handmade in India. I know because I've bought lots of it over the years. An interesting story, this was my favorite of all time. I actually lined a sketchbook that I made for myself with this exact paper. And then I kind of regretted using it because I wished I still had it for other projects. And then synchronistically in a happy mail, Kat Stone sent me some. So now I have a few pieces and use some of it here just because it had to go in here. There's something theatrical, costume design reminiscent of those really vibrant flowers. And so speaking of Kat Stone, she also gifted me some really fun vintage stickers, this being one of them. And in the design, you see what looks to be a French illustration of a man in a court jester masquerade ball costume, making his moves on this lovely lady here. So best of luck to them. The center spread, okay, I don't even know where to start. There's so much going on. So first of all, the border on the bottom is not just decorative. These little black frills are pockets that hold some scrappy little booklets made from paper strips that were left over after I cut the papers for the journal. And I feel like you can't attend a masquerade ball without a ticket. And so I put tickets into each, and I love how you can kind of see through the pockets to the tickets. Pretty paper scraps. Those are from coffee dyed paper made by my friend May in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, the ruffle, and then I fussy cut some flowers out of sari trim to decorate the edges. But the exciting part are these envelopes that are tucked into the pockets. I used images from my new printable kit called, of course, the Masquerade Ball, where we see just gorgeous ladies dressed in really opulent, sumptuous clothing with Venetian-inspired but fantasy masks with the palaces where the balls will be held in the background. So in the first one to the left, when you open it, flip it open for the first time, there's like a butterfly holding these little envelopes in place. And I feel like these little envelopes could contain ball invitations. But what I've put in this one is some coffee dyed paper made by May. and it just tucks into that little pocket. And then in this one really looks like it could be an old antique invitation to a ball. I just love it. It's so cute. I know I bought these envelopes when I was newly into journal making, or no, maybe Kat Stone gave these to me. One or the other. I bought some and she gifted me some. And they're just so cool. One of my favorite ever coffee dyed papers by May. So yeah, if you're the type who gets a journal like this just to keep as an objet d'art, I tried to decorate every single page so that it is, you know, fun to look at and engaging. But if you're the type who likes to actually write in your journals, these little corners have good writing space. This is coffee dyed paper that I dyed. The envelopes can be written on. Coffee dyed paper inside the envelopes can be written on, and even the backs of the butterfly wings. And I kind of lightly inked around the edges because I like to keep everything looking a little bit old in these books. But you can still flip that over and do some secret journaling. Now, it also opens this way, and this is where I think it gets really fun. I did a collage using some crumpled up greenish blue toned pattern paper, and then I made little tuck spot pockets using fussy cut masks from my new printable kit. And into there I tucked in some antique French legal stamps that are printed on cotton rag paper. And the cotton rag paper just gives them such a nice authentic feeling. Here's a couple more. I love looking at the scenes in these, like the way this Greek goddess is sitting with her hand draped on a table and there's a double-headed statue there. Like they're just, I've done a lot of attempted research to find out what all of these represent, and it's kind of, even with Google image search, it's hard to find details, but this one reminds me of Virgo holding her stalk of wheat, but I don't know if that's what she's supposed to be. Anyway, also an element in this collage is this really cool old music paper. I couldn't find a date on any of these. It could be anywhere from the late 1800s up to the 1940s at the very latest. One of them said 1945 on it, but I couldn't tell if it was a page number or a date. So question mark there, but so pretty. Some sari trim that reminded me of a mask for obvious reasons. And, you know, this one I added some cut strips of fabric behind to make it a little bit more 3D. I had fun with this journal, if you can't tell. This is my talking a little bit too fast because I'm excited voice. I love this. This is from a document from the 1600s. Papier la feuille. So paper the sheet, I think is what that means. And in this little pocket, whoops, I tucked in just a larger piece of one of those French documents, this time printed on a really heavy cardstock. So pretty. And into the little collage detail tuck spot, I put some prints of my favorite ever French postal stamp that has like a beautiful, beautiful castle. Another setting where our Masquerade Ball could potentially take place. So these can be written on, or they could be used in your collage work. So yeah, that all folds back up again. And then this one, when it opens, the first thing you see is this pretty sari trim, sari mesh that has kind of a zuni, I think it's called, style work. Gold and silver embroidery with little gems. And I used it as a tuck spot to hold a print of art by Kat Stone. You hear me talk about her a lot. She makes the most beautiful things. All the paper dolls you see in my journals are originally hand painted by Cat Stone. She does incredible fantasy art. And this is a print that she made of one of her paintings. The back is this stunning, like a powder blue. And she's gilded the edges with, I think, gilding wax. But yeah, the lady's butterfly wing mask is just, it's so, so, so pretty. On this side, there's a belly band with more of that vintage or antique music paper and a little tiny, tiny strip of pattern paper just to add some texture into it. And then this is an original 1960s French fairytale castle stamp. Just some coffee dyed green paper with a little cluster collage, a couple different fabrics and sequins, and a scrap of some of that printed French document paper. Oops, it goes this way. And then when you open it, there they are. Cat Stone's paper dolls, but I shrunk them down to mini and laid them out on my Pages document by overlaying the little masks. And I think it's so fun because I tried to pick masks that would match the outfits they're already wearing. They are just so adorably cute. This one's my favorite. Look at that colorful mask and how it matches the colors in her dress and her shawl. And yeah, the girl wearing a butterfly dress with a matching black mask. So here are our girls all dressed up and ready for the Masquerade Ball. And the special hidden secret when you take these envelopes out is that behind them there is another scene that I printed from the public domain section of the Metropolitan website, and that is a 17th century actual painting of a masquerade ball. So if you look really closely, you can see that this character is wearing a mask, and so is this person here. So this was, I think it was the court of Louis Philippe. In my printable kit, I labeled it so you can see, you know, which court it took place in, or of course you could go to the website for the Metropolitan, the Met Museum, and it's available there for free. Anybody can download and use it. But I included it so that our masked girls can actually attend a royal ball. And anyway, they can hang out in these pockets. You can move them around. You could make this for a little kid and they could have so much fun. Or the little kid in all of us. But anyway, so yeah, this is, she would stick out like a sore thumb with her leg exposed. How scandalous would that have been in that era? But I just love how this all came together. These are printed on a really thin, matte, sort of a photo grade paper. And I glued them onto French book paper just to give a little bit of strength. So yeah, I think this is my favorite. Spoiler alert, if you watch the rest of this video, you've already seen my favorite thing. It's the Cat Stone paper dolls. But in the very, very last page of the big journal, there is something that goes with the paper dolls. So stay tuned for that. Or if you're not into these really long format spoken videos, you of course skip ahead. Another collage cluster on some coffee dyed green paper. I slipped that into a pocket made of the other side of this French document. And I say the other side of this French document because, sorry, the paper always fights me when I'm filming. if you take this out of this pocket, it actually lines up. So you can see it says Le 3 février 1810. So the 13th February 1810. So much fun. Anyway, I'm going to set this stuff aside while we go into the main journal, but I'm not going to put it away because the girls have one more fun thing in store. I think this is the longest it's ever taken me to actually untie the journal closure and open to the first page, like 20 minutes in. Here is the actual junk journal that we're looking at. I'm gonna move this here so it's not too distracting on camera. So yeah, the cover is lined. Oh my goodness, okay, I missed a spot with the cat hair. The cover is lined, pardon me, I'm gonna get tape. If I don't do this right now, I would feel so badly if somebody winds up purchasing the journal and I forget to do it. So I'm just going to, there we go, get rid of that fur. When I work on my journals, I have 4 cats, as you can probably tell from the fur on everything. And one of them named Domino, who is ominously walking over towards me right now. When I'm working on journals, he likes to just get in there and lie down right on top of them. So yeah, you're getting some Domino samples along with the journal. But anyway, I lined it using just the most stunning fabric ever. This black fabric with bright colored embroidered flowers and gold. I fussy cut 2 extra flowers and glued them down here to be like a little tuck spot pocket. This fabric was a gift in a recent Happy Mail from May. So this comes all the way from Saudi Arabia. And into the pocket, I shared this in a Craft With Me video last week. This is reproduced from an antique book that I bought. It's from 1925, so exactly 100 years ago, people were making crepe paper costumes, and this was their inspiration book. So the lining is from my blue wallpaper printable kit. I designed it to look kind of like an Art Deco meets Art Nouveau. I guess this one's more Art Deco, but there are some Art Nouveau styles in there too. But yeah, I included all the illustrations from that entire book. I'll show you the original. So this is the original, and I didn't include in here like the intro, the first page, or all the text pages, but the printable kit includes everything, including the instruction pages at the back. So if you wanted to make one for yourself that's an exact replica, you could do that with the scans. But anyway, for this book, I just wanted the aesthetic value. So I included prints of all the costumes. I didn't put them in order. I put this one first because it's my favorite. Look at this cat costume. So cute. I did some Googling about crepe paper costumes in the flapper era, which this very much is. And I was kind of shocked to find out people didn't just whip them together for Halloween. Like it was a regular thing to throw costume parties, masquerade balls, just for the fun of it. And people would be so elaborate. At fabric stores back then, you could buy like shift dress bases, and then you would actually sew your crepe paper layer by layer onto the base and then make belts to tie them on and add appliques. And look at this. I love this girl. One of my all-time favorite movies is Ever After, A Cinderella Story. And there's that iconic scene in which the fictionalized Leonardo da Vinci makes just gorgeous butterfly wings. And yeah, those wings remind me of that. But anyway, what really shocked me about those 1920s crepe paper costume balls is that they would throw them away after. It was considered a disposable costume. Like, you'd wear it once and then you'd get rid of it. And it's just so funny how these could stand in a museum today and we would marvel at them, because the average person today does not have the sewing skills to make something like this to wear once and then throw out. I love like the flower garland boa that she's holding. We have an American woman. The little bunnies on her dress. I guess I don't need to point out every little detail. You have eyes. Oh yeah, the back of each of these pages is just my coffee dyed mandala design paper. And that's in my coffee dyed printable kit, but you could really back it with anything. And the center spread is probably my second favorite after the cat lady costume. It's just so pretty, and also a little bit mysterious, because like this is 1925 and yet this guy here totally looks like he's wearing headphones. And I read the description and I can't figure out for the life of me. It says he's like Electric Man, but I don't know what the earphones are supposed to be. Anyway, beautiful costumes. This was the second piece that inspired the entire journal. First was the Venetian mask back there, and then second was when I found this book, I knew, okay, it's time. It's time to make this journal. I think of Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly, if you're watching, when I see this little girl, because she's planning a pansy-themed journal. It's not every day you see a pansy conversing with a dragon. So pretty. Little paper. Little insect kids. So cute. Look at our little bumblebee and the little bird. I wonder if that was an innuendo back then, the birds and the bees. Here's my other favorite, the lady with a star dress wearing a crescent moon on her head. I love that. We have a pirate. Doesn't she look like the epitome of 1920s party glamour? She even has the haircut for it. Yeah, and then that's the end. So I was really pleasantly surprised. I bought this, not the print, but the original book on eBay. And it's a bit of a gamble as a Canadian, because I think the book itself was 25 or 30 US dollars, but then the shipping was as expensive as the book. And at the end of the day, it came out to being like 100 Canadian. And the only thing I saw was the front cover and the center spread. And I thought, like, these would be awesome printables. But I didn't know whether the whole book would be illustrated or not, or what to expect. And it was one of those beautiful moments in life where it exceeded my expectations. It was better than I thought it would be. So yay to that. And pardon me while I sip my water here. Come to the age that I need a little glass of water when I do these chatty videos. So she is also out of my new printable kit. I love her flower crown, the castle in the background. And yesterday, my newest crafty friend, Michelle, hello Michelle if you're watching, I got a Happy Mail surprise from her. And in the package, she had included some really stunning fabrics and trims and things. And I thought, even though the journal was ready, I had to use some of it because I just knew the colors would be too perfect not to use. So originally it just had this really pretty Indian from India embroidered fabric. But I thought, forget it. I'm adding some of this pink and one of the little yellow masks from the kit. It's glued down. You could tuck something behind it if you wanted to, but I chose to leave it so that you can see the beautiful, beautiful illustration behind. This page is also from the printable kit. So pretty. This is a fun page. So I have altered a vintage earring just by tying a really pretty faux brass key to the back of it. I like to make it so that anything I use in a journal is pretty on both sides. So I will set that down. But what I've used to clip into place is I printed on a piece of tracing paper and another image from the Met Museum. So this is another masquerade ball going on in a palace. And I love that it includes the architectural detail of the palace. So I put that next to just a plainish piece of paper that I coffee dyed. And here I used another little snippet from Michelle as a pocket for this teeny tiny little fussy cut mask. But yeah, onto that I clipped a reproduction that I made on cotton rag paper of another masquerade ball. And, oh, this is the one that's the court of Louis Philippe. Donné par le roi, so hosted by the king. Yeah, Louis. Maybe not Louis Philippe, maybe just King Louis. Marie-Thérèse d'Espagne. So Marie Theresa of Spain. Anyway, I won't bore you with the details. Just that it's a very pale image. They also had a really dark version of it, but I thought I would go with the original because you can see a little bit more of the detail in it. It is so pretty. All those lines are the chandeliers suspended. I backed it with a page from an old French document from around the same era, just because I thought it would be cool. And where the original document had a wax seal, I actually attached a wax seal and then kind of inked it up to make it look a little bit old and grungy. So our paper doll girls can also attend this ball, but of course they'll be in color while everything else is in black and white. So yeah, so pretty. And then on the other side of that, yeah, the brass key kind of matches these embossed keys. I just made that on packing paper using my embossing machine. Did a little cluster collage just because, like I said, I felt like this particular journal, I just couldn't stop myself. I felt like I have to make every page pretty. Another one of our mini masks tucked into some lace trim that was a gift from May. On the back, I added just a little fussy cut. And so this is sweet, I think anyway. When this little page flips over, we see the bluebirds of happiness. I try to include a bluebird of happiness in every journal. These ones were very worky, but I'm glad that I did the work. It's die cut little pieces of paper, and I used 2 different shades of blue plus a little bit of book page in their wings. And these little birdies are sitting in the floral frame of this page from the printable kit. And I decided that they would hold yet another mask that's just synchronistically. I've made these little birdies months ago, but I love that the baby blue and the periwinkle in the birdies just happen to be the exact same colors in this mask. I should also mention, like, if you buy the printable kit or if you bought the printable kit, I've included a PDF version of all the masks I used in the journal, so you can easily like print it out and have them to the same scale that I've used them. But they also come as a folder of 45 individual masks, 45. So you're only seeing a small sampling of them in this book. Like, you could print all of them if you got really inspired, if ink was unlimited. And you can print them literally any size you want. So teeny tiny, like as tiny as I made them for these little paper dolls, all the way up to like wearable or larger than life. Like, you could fill a page with a mask. And I just love them. I think this is my new favorite printable kit. Love, love, love these girls. The only thing I would have done differently, and here's where I feel like there's room for improvement, even in our best work. The only thing I would have done differently if I were to do this over again is that I would have flipped this file horizontally before printing it, so that one girl here is looking inwards and then the girl there is looking inwards, instead of each of them kind of looking into their separate seams. If I had done it that way, and I made this decision as I was crafting, if I had done it that way, I would have used the same trims on each of them symmetrically, and I would have made it like more one cohesive spread instead of treating them like two separate pages. But since they're both looking in the same direction, I decided to, treat each page like an individually framed standalone design. So this one gets this beautiful purple sari rose. You could stick something in there, but I didn't want to cover up her peacock. And then this one, oh, one of my absolute favorite masks in the whole journal. And for the tab, I took a piece of the green fabric that's the cover for our little mini book. Whoops, I don't want to drop anything. This green fabric, and I just cut it like here and like here, and then fussy cut just half of the flower so that not too much of the page would be covered up, just to hold the tab in place, so that the tab itself sticks out, but half of the flower just kind of gets added into the design. I hope I'm articulating that properly. Some of these things are hard to put into words. But anyway, on the other side, I used another beautiful little piece from Michelle, and it like that package, thank you so much, Michelle. It arrived exactly at the right time, because the tab was already fine, but I think finishing the edge using this gorgeous golden little flower piece, that just took it to the next level. Some embossed handmade paper that was also in that happy mail. This is the other side of the embossing folder that the keys come on. Some original coffee dyed paper from May. And on the other side, one of my favorite masks in the whole printable kit. And I went a little extra. I used my scissors to snip into the feather to kind of give it more of a 3D look. You definitely don't have to go to that extreme, but so pretty, backed with more of that beautiful, beautiful handwritten French paper. Pardon me for a moment. Tiger, don't even think about it. Bye-bye. We'll play after. Sorry, I could tell Tiger was about to jump up. He loves to jump onto this little table to look out the window, but if he jumped up, there's just too much that could get wrecked. I love this one. Another peacock lady, but this time in a beautiful night scene. And the tab on this page is some of my favorite textured sari trim with a little fussy cut golden thing. You probably recognize this because the pocket holding one of Kat Stone's prints in our mini envelope had one. Another page from the kit. This piece I attached using just a little bit of washi tape so it can be completely removed, but I love how the one star in the coffee dye looks like the pupil and iris of an eye. Like, how perfect did that turn out? This is printed on really cool paper that Michelle included. So this is another piece that got added just yesterday. So pretty. And then I printed these onto more of that rice paper. Originally, I was going to find just some coffee dyed paper to tuck into there, but this is even better. So pretty. And these are also from the Met Museum's public domain image library. It was titled Butterflies Masquerading as People, and it's so cute. They're having a little butterfly sword fight. This one is probably my favorite. They're hanging out at a beautiful, what's it called? Not a pagoda, the Egyptian tall skinny pyramid thing. I swear, in normal everyday life, this does not happen to me, but as soon as I start filming a video, I forget the simplest little words like that. Love this one too. So pretty. So yeah, it's not really Masquerade Ball themed, but it came up in that image search because the word masquerading was in there. So pretty. Oh, that word is bothering me now. Does that ever happen to you? Anyway, so another fun printout. Okay, so the paper clip here, I just tied a bow using some pretty green fabric edge. I left it rough, like I left little strings in it just because I like that texture. And this is another one of those messages from Valencia. These are verses for a masquerade ball. So I'm guessing that these would be performers who are hired to perform at a masked ball in costume. But I have absolutely no idea. I don't know the context. The history of the image was given, but not the context. So anyway, I printed this out on some really gorgeous antique looking paper from Michelle. So perfect. I originally had printed it just on my regular linen paper, but I redid it for this because I love to have things that look older, and it's nice to have a variety of paper colors and textures in your journals. So really cool. If you're the writing type, you could write on the back of it. If you had a masquerade ball, you could use it as a guest book and have people flip to fun pages and sign and write about their costumes. Or, yeah, beautiful tab. Oh yeah, before I put the paper clip in place, this is just a piece of really pretty mandala origami paper. And lots of writing space here, just a little collage of coffee dyed paper and music paper. I love that origami paper. My uncle from Montreal gave me a big pack of it a few years ago. And yeah, the colors just fit so perfectly for this journal. So yeah, here is another tab. Gorgeous fabric from May, so that's another Saudi Arabian fabric. This pocket here, made with really fun crinkled ribbon, and then a fussy cut sari piece, and then I trimmed it with a little extra from Michelle. Fit right in. And so here is, I think for a lot of us, this is our favorite thing in a journal. I took an old piece of French paper and covered it with some of this really pretty greenish blue pattern paper. I chose the part that has the word couture for the front because I imagine this to be like a sampler that a fancy couturier dressmaker might show you to say, you know, you can select the fabrics for your costume. And I made it a trifold, but I was inspired by some of the fabric samplers that my grandma used to get when I was little, and sometimes they would open like this as a trifold and then have one extra removable piece in the center. So yeah, this has that. You get a sampling of that same pretty embroidered sari fabric that decorates the pocket. So here's how I use it. And then there's a piece that either you could take out and use or keep it in the fabric sampler. I just love these fabrics, these trims, so pretty. And then there's a sample of that piece from Michelle too. So you can see how I put it to use and then how it looks just in its raw form. They're all so, so pretty. And then, yeah, it's all covered in that really gorgeous pattern paper. So yeah, I went through, I have at least 25, maybe 30 old pattern packets. You know what I mean? These things, you can find them at all the thrift stores, at least around here, all the thrift stores. I went through all of them, and almost every single one has just this regular color, but two of them had this really stunning, like blue sageish green, and those are the Burda brand, B-U-R-D-A. So if you love this stuff as much as I do, let's keep our eyes open when we're thrifting for Burda vintage patterns, because yeah, it's so, so pretty. And in my opinion, it's just so much more fun than the plain brownish beige, but also complements that brownish beige. Like I used this pretty string that has the same kind of colors. Not string, not yarn either. I don't even know what you would call this stuff. It's not eyelash trim, it's just its own thing. So this gorgeous woman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so she is an AI freak hand, but even still, gorgeous, gorgeous woman. I'm so sorry. Usually I check those before I put a kit together, but she's so pretty that I missed the fact that she had an extra finger. To be fair, there are some people born with an extra finger. I did meet a girl in India who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, so we could pretend that she's just blessed by evolution with an extra digit. But anyway, I love the colors and the mask, and actually the pocket and the trims here were inspired to coordinate with the colors that she's wearing. Wouldn't you love to have a necklace like this, that the back is as gorgeous as the front? So, so pretty. And I just realized now, isn't this funny, that all of these little writing pages could be scenes for our paper dolls. They have so many balls to attend, so many friends to make. They're just so pretty. More of the May coffee dyed paper. This is an original vintage piece. It says L'Encyclopédie de la Décoration Française. So it's the Encyclopedia of French Decoration. Style de France, obviously styles. De is of, so styles of France. So pretty. I kind of roughed up the corners and inked around the edges to make it look older than it is. Tucked into a little piece of fussy cut gold trim. Just a little collage with some fabric-y bits. This tab has that pretty fringe edge. This tuck spot is my favorite of all the masks. I love all the colors in that one. There are two multicolored masks. And I love that they look kind of like tie-dye, but also kind of like Star Galaxy. It's so pretty. I'm gonna point out the edges. So it was a little bit tedious to have to fussy cut around all the little diamonds and all the little top details, and using the X-Acto knife to take out that little bit. But most of the masks, I started leaving the diamonds off and just cutting around the easy edge. So you kind of have two options if you're using these masks the way I use them. You could cut them out the hard way or the easy way. I did kind of a mix of both ways. My favorite design ever for coffee dyed paper, because I feel like you could write a different little secret or a different little message or a little note to self in each doily framed segment. So gorgeous, multicolored. A bigger piece of that favorite coffee dyed paper of mine. The tab on this one is just the most pretty clustered sequined stuff ever. That was also in Michelle's Happy Mail. And it looks so cool. Like when the book is closed from the side, there's like that line of clustered sequins. It's so perfect. I would love to get some of this in like every color, and that way every book would have sequin clusters sticking out the edges. I'll have to ask her where she found this. Hopefully it's not a vintage piece. It looks more modern. I say hopefully it's not a vintage piece because if it's vintage, it's kind of like good luck finding more. But if it's modern, they might have it out there in other colors. This is from Angelica in Austria. Really gorgeous font. I love that Gothic looking writing. A little cluster. Finally, we're at the center. So yeah, this is from my printable kit. This is from my coffee dyed papers printable pack. It's that same favorite of May's. But yeah, the center, oh, just gorgeous shades of blue and fussy cut this particular mask to be in the middle just because of how beautifully it matches the light blue flowers. The center, so it's held together using genuine antique embroidery thread from France. So gorgeous. And I tied to it a beautiful glass star. I hope the camera's picking up the color nicely. It's so stunning. Oh yeah, it is. My tripod was hiding this from my view when I tried checking the camera, so I had to kind of crane my neck to see. But yeah, it's so pretty. And I feel like Venice is known for Venetian masks and also Venetian glass. So while this is not Venetian glass, or maybe it is, who knows? I found it in a jewelry jar. It is definitely glass, and it's so pretty. So yeah, on the second half, I have a really pretty antique postcard. And that's on a brad, so it swivels up to reveal this. I loved this side of the postcard. The other side too, it's just stamped 1913. So pretty. Lots of writing space if you want to write on it. The stamp was ripped. Oops. I did not just do that now. It was like that when I got it. This was from Martina at Magnolia Fairytale in a beautiful package. She sent me some stunning sari fabrics, and I used some of those in this journal too. And I just adore this piece. There were two, and I'm keeping the other one for my own personal collection. But yeah, since the stamp was ripped off, I thought I want to replace that with a stamp that's intact. So this is a real vintage, very pretty Queen Elizabeth stamp. And I picked it because it matches the color of pencil right there. Matchy, matchy, matchy. It's a book full of vibrant, random colors, but sometimes I like to try to match things. Anyway, when the sunlight is behind this, isn't that just such a magical look? If you print a frame on one side and a solid image on the other, you get this magical sort of stained glass effect when you hold the light behind it or hold it up to the light. Gorgeous girl. Gorgeous mask. And see what I mean? I just cut off the bottom details and it still looks just as good. This is from the lovely Angelica. Oh no, I hope I didn't accidentally glue it in. Sorry, I'm doing a little, there. No harm done. This is from 1950, a receipt from Austria. And this one has such a fun cluster of ephemera, like handwritten, hand-signed. So, so pretty. I think at the time, if they knew that paper enthusiast, journal maker crafters would be calling this piece pretty, they would be laughing at us hysterically because to them it was just an everyday necessary object, like the way we have receipts when we go shopping. But for some reason, I think these old ephemera pieces, like the texture of the paper, the layers, the colors, even like these are authentic rusty staples. Why does that feel so magical? It just does. Some coffee dyed lace for the pocket, some beautiful pink trim for the tab. Here's another favorite page of mine. I used one of these dollar store butterflies. I glued it down just around the edges so it could be a tuck spot pocket for this mask. I did not cut her eyes out this time just because they match the face. And so I feel like you could draw little eyes there if you're artistic, or even write something. But I thought aesthetically it would just look nicer than if it was the coffee dyed color coming through. But anyway, I love this one. And look at that beautiful old writing. I should have mentioned already, all of the masks are backed with this antique French document. And of course, that's out of my French document printable kit. Okay, the other side of that French decoration piece. So stunning. So, so pretty. Just a few little clustered things, more of that favorite coffee dyed paper. Another page from Angelica in Austria. It's from a 1800s mathematics book, but it just looks so cool. All the geometry sketches. I love sacred geometry, and this really reminds me of that. And just beautiful font. And then another piece found on the Met website, Masquerade. You see them wearing their little masks. And I think it's funny, the little sign held up, horns to sell. So I guess, I don't know if this is satire or if it's something that actually happened, that you could go to a masquerade ball and sell like horns. So if somebody shows up without a costume and they need one, they could buy it right there. This little piece inked around the edges. That's not actually gold, that's just printer ink, but the way the sunlight is coming in right now, doesn't that look like it's actually gilded? Buyer beware. This is just printer ink. You're not, oh, isn't that funny? I would hate for someone to get this book and then pull this little page out and be disappointed to see it's not actually metallic shiny, but I saw it on the camera. And anyway, just a little cluster of laces adorning this coffee dyed envelope. And inside I tucked this, also from the Met Museum's public domain section. It's like Art Nouveau style. Look at these sweeping, beautiful lines. And all the masks worn by the players or dancers. And I love how it has these like Art Nouveau decorative elements, but with actual little masks woven into the detail. So pretty. Inked up to look older than it is. And like I said, you could go to the Met's website and do that same search and download all these same pieces, but to make it easier, I also included them in my printable kit. Here, this is what I was digging through the package from Martina to find. This is some of that fabric she sent. It's so pretty with like Aurora Borealis crystals. This is that same piece but in another color. So here, this was from Catstone in like the oranges, and then this is one that I had already bought with the blue and pink. Here's another scene that would be, right, like just perfect for our little mini paper dolls. By the way, I included the paper dolls in the printable kit also, with the masks already on, as they are here. But this one, for some reason, when I created the file, I didn't line up her dress perfectly with her body. So if you have the kit, you're gonna have to kind of like just look at where the dress is and cut around the dress, and there will be like some of her body on the page that you'll have to cut off. Let me just step away for one moment. I think I have one I can show you. Here we go. I reprinted it because I needed a second of her, because the first one I accidentally got some glue on it. Wait, where did she go? So yeah, for this girl here, you'll see what I mean. Like, this is the one that I cut out. This is the one still on the printer paper. So I didn't perfectly line it up so she has like a second set of hips. There's the dress, there's the doll, and she has a second arm. So here's the arm that you want that comes with the dress, and then there's like the other arm. The reason it came out that way is that this is not the dress the doll was wearing in the original version that I scanned. So I had to kind of lay the dress on top of her because I wanted it all done before cutting it out. Anyway, yeah, just a little tip. If you get this kit and you go to print out the doll and then realize she's doubled, and I had already deleted my my pages file, and I didn't want to go to the trouble of redoing all of them. So that's the only little glitch that was there. Doesn't she just fit that scene color-wise? She could be in the background there. One of the guests that this girl is about to go chat with. Anyway, we're past an hour, so I'm going to try to flip through a little bit more quickly now. Why have just one fabric sampler fold out when you can have two and have a little mini one? So I love this. I was going to use these black and white patterned ribbons somewhere in the book, but the book just kind of turned out to be better with all color, I think. But if you want to add them in, I've included the samples. Here's the other side of that really cool Met Masquerade Ball, like architecture plate. And I think it turned out so beautifully, printed on this tracing paper. So, so pretty. But of course, that could be printed out on any paper. Da, 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 da. And we're finally at the back. Next time I do a peacock themed journal, I'll include some of these Masquerade Ball peacock pages. But anyway, the very, very, very back page, more of this stunning black fabric from May, this beautiful, colorful trim that was also from May. And in here, I made, so first of all, I'm not going to pull this out because it'll be too tricky to put back in again on camera. But that is like the world's tiniest little fabric sampler. It's on ledger. And these are actually little tiny bits of crepe paper. So remember, we have our crepe paper costume book, and we have our, here's why I didn't put these girls away. We have our set of paper dolls. Well, I went ahead and made little crepe paper costumes for the paper dolls. And I think they turned out to be so adorably cute. There's this little yellow skirt, and this is for this doll. And the strings make it so it can be tied on. You can tie a little bow. I'm not going to actually tie it right now, but yeah, you can take my word for it. This little pretty pink bow is to adorn this girl here, and the strings can actually go right through between her arms and her dress, and that can be tied on. My favorite of the dresses, look at this beautiful, like bright fuchsia pink. This is for this doll here. So isn't it fun how you can change their clothes? Crepe paper doll dresses for paper dolls were another favorite craft of ladies in years gone by. This one is just a skirt, but it can be tied onto this lady here. And last but certainly not least, in the spirit of Ever After and the Masquerade Ball, I had to make wings for one of them. So our butterfly girl gets wings. And again, this can go through the armholes. If I wasn't filming, it would be a lot easier to do, so I'm not going to do that. But there you can see it without the strings. So yeah, crepe paper costumes for our Masquerade Ball attending paper dolls. And I just thought it would be super, super cute to make a little fabric swatch sampler for all the crepe papers used in these designs. And this can just tuck under that to keep them all safely in that envelope. The envelope is another of the coffee dyed papers from May. So yeah, remember a million years ago when I said the back of the book, or seconds ago if you skipped everything else to come here, I said there'd be something more for the paper dolls. That was it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. This is probably the most time I've ever spent, maybe the second most, my favorite big, gorgeous peacock journal. The one video that has the most views. I think that was the most time I spent on a single journal. This is like a close second. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the flip through as much as I enjoyed it. I hope you love all these beautiful pieces. And if you are the one called to buy this journal, you get, sorry to rudely step away from the camera again. Well, as a gift with purchase, I always pick a ring to match every journal. This one I felt just had the right oomph to go with a masquerade ball. You could wear it. It would go so nicely with the costume. And it goes with the mask that I made. So I made this. I watched a little documentary about the history of Venetian masks and Carnival. It's so cool. It started in Venice as a way to take away the social statuses that people had. So during the time of the Masquerade Festival there, everyone could wear a mask. There was no social class rule about who was allowed to wear what mask. People could get as outlandish with them as they wanted to. And during that time, everyone treated everyone with respect. And in that era of world history, is that not just super rare, right? Like there were court protocols in every royal royal having country, and even to this day, you know, it's sad and it shouldn't be that way, but it's true that people will treat people who have less than they have as if those people are worse than they are. But the masks were a way to kind of equalize everyone, and I thought that was just so cool. And as I watched the documentary, of course they showed tourist stalls in Venice where artists were making things like this, and that's when I realized you could move it because they were kind of bending them around in the documentary. And yeah, in one of the scenes, one of the mask makers in a Venetian stall was adding music paper to make the court jester spikes on a mask. And I thought, okay, now I have to do it. Now I have to make a mask using music paper. So it's like for a paper lover, ephemera lover. There's like a black doily. Domino wants my attention. Sorry, he's knocking beads off my jewelry making table behind me. But anyway, this comes as a gift with purchase along with the ring. And I'm going to be making more of these for sure. I'm going to make one for myself so that next year when I hand out candy to trick-or-treaters, I don't have to get all dressed up. I can just tie on a mask and be good to go. And I think I'm going to make one for my guy Kenley too, because he really, really loved it. But anyway, the back is one of the masks from my printable kit. Once I printed it out and backed it in the book page, I had to decide, do I want this to be the front or the back? And I kind of thought it would be fun to have book page for the back, or sorry, for the front. So the front became the back became the front. I just kind of glued everything down. The edges of this music paper are not inked. That's natural aging. But anyway, yeah, maybe next year when I make more, maybe I'll do it as a tutorial video, but it's pretty easy to figure out how I did that, I think. So anyway, now we're finished. So yeah, you actually get a full-size wearable mask with it too. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you watched all 1 hour, almost like 14 minutes, just thank you so much for having me in your home for so much time. So much love to you. The journal is in my Etsy shop, so are all of the printable kits I used for it. So the Masquerade Ball, the coffee dyed papers, and the French documents, antique French documents. So much love to you. Happy crafting. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.